For the past 2 years, Jocko Fuel has been the only supplement I've consumed. It's helped me stay in shape now that my competitive career is finished. If you've been waiting to try Jocko, the wait is over. Jocko has now teamed with Walmart, bringing clean fuel to the entire nation. Jocko Fuel is loaded with all the good stuff and none of the bad. And I'm talking no added sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and absolutely no gray area or banned substances. Just pure, clean fuel to power your performances. Jocko Fuel is now available in Walmart nationwide. Products available at your local Walmart are Jocko Malt, ready to drink, Jocko Malt powder, and Jocko pre-workout. How convenient. Guys, the time is now. Consider trying some of my favorites like Jocko Go and Jocko Hydrate. You can even do it online. Use code CHAEL30 at JockoFuel.com or just stop by your local Walmart and get your hands on some Jocko ASAP. Don't wait, might not last. Fuel up with Jocko Fuel and crush your goals. Now there's no excuse for not having clean fuel. Guys, I want you to go get Jocko Fuel today at Walmart. Ilia Topuria getting worked up. He's getting worked up over this Max fight. And I gotta say, I've never met him in person. Like, if you guys want me to give you some insight, and I know him and the boys that got together, I wasn't there. I have not met Ilia Topuria. I don't know him any better than you guys do. I watch his marketing. I watch how he's built himself from an unknown Mr. Hand Sanitizer to the only undefeated champion of the world we've got, which in my opinion is also in the most difficult weight class. I would hear an argument between 45 and 55, but a very difficult weight class. I share that with you because there was just this brilliant piece of theater that was put out. Brendan Fitzgerald hosts Ilia and Max at the same time. And you could feel Ilia getting worked up. The problem is, I don't know if that's who he is, how he generally approaches these things, or if he'd come out of his shell. But it sure felt like, in comparison to other things that I have seen, he was getting worked up. And the reason it surprises me is the last person that has the capability of working you up is Max. Max is far more likely, in the course of a 10-minute interview, to pay you a compliment than he is to insult you. And you gotta have a motivation. I can't tell you how difficult that is to come by when you've already done something successfully, right? You got this big mountain in front of you, you gotta climb it. But once you climb it, and you're undefeated, and you stop the unstoppable, you stop the GOAT of the history of the division, and the current number one pound for pound, because those are all things that Topuria did and gained when he beat Volkanovski. So, but you got to find yourself. You got to create one of these situations if it's not there. If you've got to come from a place of anger, you've got to create that anger. Or you're generally bothered. What would have Topuria bothered? That's my biggest question, because even when Topuria started to come at Max, it didn't feel as though it was being met back by Max. I can recall a piece. They were asking Max about Ilia Topuria and his reaction to Max's knockout over Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. And Max said, well, I don't know him. Maybe that's just the way he looks. And Max has never called out Topuria that I've seen, including when Max got himself the fight. When Max went up to 155, which turned in to maybe the greatest fight that we have ever seen. Certainly the greatest fight of UFC 300, which in theory was the biggest show of all time. That was its full intent. When he was doing that the entire time, talking about the what ifs, what if he beats Gaethje, what will he do then? He never talked about staying. He never talked about defending, talked about the BMF title. He never talked about Islam, even though they were wildly searching for an opponent for Islam. Max always talked about 145. Reclaiming the title at 145, but never in that process did he mention Ilia. I must tell you, to the point where that would annoy a guy like me. That would generally annoy me, but I'm not allowed to be annoyed with Max. I'm not allowed to be annoyed with a guy who's a sportsman, who's gone up and taken a massive risk, which was to get your ass kicked by Justin Gaethje, which is what was supposed to happen, and who, by the way, is now wearing a championship. Like, I don't get to be annoyed with somebody like that. I've got to stand back and go, okay, you do it your way. I offer you those examples because when Ilia started to turn up the heat, That's something that you will need to do in order to get a fight. Like, there's a way that you will promote getting a bout agreement that is different than the attitude that you will take trying to promote a pay-per-view. And I was just wondering why. Like, what is it about Max? What is it within Ilia's training? What is it that he needs to stay sharp? And it's the truth that hurts, guys. Right? Yo mama jokes are just mean. Yo mama jokes sometimes will warrant a response. But it's the truth that hurts. And Ilia said something that was very truthful. He told Max that in this big highlight that you've got, your big moment against Gaethe that sent Gaethe down and brings the crowd to their feet and got you the BMF title and let you, the odd man out, come back to this division and get a crack at the belt that I'm wearing, was sloppy. You planted your feet and you guys started swinging like bums and you got to his chin before he got to yours. There's no threat there for me. There's no footage that I need to break down with my coaches and see how to slip in and pop you before I roll out. You just started throwing. That's not a technique. That's not a style. That's not a combination. All right, I'm adding a little bit to Ilia's words, but I'm telling you, this was the point that he made. He's completely correct. It did make me think. I mean, it did make me go back to that amazing moment, which will be nominated for Fight of the Year, and I have a feeling will win Fight of the Year. It is nominated for Knockout of the Year. I have a feeling it will win Knockout of the Year. And what do you do about that? I mean, what do you do if you go out, you're Max, you do everything right. You set the world on fire. 2-1 underdog, just to remind you. When Max made the walk that night at 300 against Justin Gaethje, he was a 2-1 underdog with my partners at DraftKings. He ends up getting a win. He gets a win by stoppage. Oh, by the way, he gets a win by stoppage in a championship round known as the fourth. Oh, by the way, he'd won the entire fight. In fact, I think they were in the fifth round and he already had 4 banked. He did. That is true. So imagine a prop bet on that. Just for example. Imagine you took Max and you did it in a prop bet. You got a knockout over Gaethje. It was this incredible thing and everybody's celebrating it. And then you have a guy that comes in who isn't celebrating, who isn't scared by this, who wasn't impressed by this. And when you attempt to find out how were you not scared and how were you not impressed, which is going to be nothing more than a work, he actually tells you. He tells you that's not a combination. He tells you you didn't set that up. He tells you you didn't train and prepare for it. Your coach did not yell an instruction that you followed and you found a weakness within Justin Gaethje's defense. He tells you that you were swinging like a bum and you happened to catch him before he caught you. It was fire. It really was. It was a very spirited conversation they had, but that borderlines on mean. It really does. Because now he's forcing everybody, including me right now, talking to you guys right now, to re-look at those 10 seconds. And now that Ilia mentions it, I mean, yeah, it's closer to what Ilia said than to what anybody else had said, which, come to think of it, they've never said anything other than, wow. It got some oohs and some ahs, but there was nobody out there that was commenting on that technique. And I just found that to be very interesting. It will always go back to my conversation with Teddy Atlas prior to Ilia beating Volkanovski, when Teddy said, not only is this guy the best boxer in the sport, this guy, referring to Ilia Topuria, is the best boxer ever from this sport. And Teddy could see it, and all of a sudden Ilia slips in, boom, he lands that hook, he gets out unscathed against Volkanovski. And I bring that to you because you want to brawl the technician, you want to brawl the boxer and box the brawler. And I just don't know which one Max is. When I look at him, he is so perfect in every area on his feet. But if you have a guy that's more skilled, he might see something different. If you have a guy like Ilia Topuria that can keep that focus, he can keep that focus all night. Largely, you have to turn to brawling. Largely, you have to turn to planting your feet and start swinging because of a level of exhaustion that you reach. It has been Max's secret weapon. Brian Ortega himself came out and said, I was so physically exhausted, I could not keep my hands up just to catch punches. Forget about me throwing back. Just to keep my hands up here to stop Max from getting to me. It's interesting. Because now Ilia's letting us in on his mindset, that he does plan to be very technical. That he doesn't plan to be brought into a brawl. I don't know that it'll move the line. I don't know if it'll influence you guys. I don't know if it has changed at all who I think is going to win this fight, which I will bring to you at another time. But I do feel as though it has at least given us the insight into Ilia Topuria to keep a calm head, to box the brawler, to get Max, to turn Max into that brawler, get Max swinging so that you can then attack. Doesn't mean you're going to win just because you have that theory and philosophy, but I do believe that Ilia speaking to Max in that way and bringing it to our light at least tells us that's what his philosophy is.